It's interesting that I'm gonna see if I can do this. It's interesting that everyone's perspectives. You know what I mean? We're more in common than we are different. Um, Biology, desires, needs, essentials. We have cultural differences, which is the beauty of diversity. We have physical and intellectual differences, which is the strength of diversity. And aside from these differences, our experience varies. It's pretty much the only thing that makes us different is our experiences. I have the open-mindedness and the willingness to attempt to view someone else's experiences. Somebody who may not look like me, who may have been born a different gender than I have, or whatever. Like, I have the ability and the willingness to attempt to put myself in a position of close enough to the perspective from what I'm from what I from what I'm being told. Tired as fuck. It's been a long ass work week. The point is like one of the points is I grew up with this notion that the reward for hard work is to treat myself with substances and change the way I feel about whatever with the substances. And of course, substances can feel good. So that's the pleasure reward system that we're brought up with, that I grew up viewing, my experience and what I learned by like the girl in the Budweiser commercial, by the comical three frogs of the commercial beer commercials, the most incredible interesting man in the planet, the commercials, like the TV shows, the patriarchal perspective, all of it, man, all of it tells me that and one of the things is we are given this illusion of reward system to keep us from focusing on that our hard work and efforts could be validated and rewarded at a much higher rate than they are now. Because we have the technology to do so. We have the production and distribution and agriculture. We have the know-how to do so. But we're given these weapons of mass control, man. These weapons of mass control. Like, I grew up in one of the neighborhoods where the crack epidemic hit the hardest first. And it's a weapon. It was a weapon. Every few years a new drug comes out. It's a weapon. It's a weapon to keep like this control or this like sense of pleasure reward system going, right? To keep this sense of, this is what I get for being here, right? It's my right to do it. It's my right to enjoy these substances or whatever. Like, I'm not making judgment on enjoying substances. I'm talking about the motivation behind it. And the motivation behind it isn't to reward you. The motivation behind it is to be a tool of control, to be a device, something divisive, something from allowing our intellect and our rational thinking and our empathy, which is like the algorithm of society, the algorithm of humanity is empathy, to keep us from being in conscious contact with that intuitive nature of what people are and how we've come so far in the future, come so far down the evolutionary path. I mean, we talk about, the creation stories, and and then there's scientific proof of an evolutionary path. And not to say that creation stories don't have value, but what's the creation story's motivation? What's the motivation behind how and why the creation story was written in the way it was? Is it one that puts us back in touch with our roots of the earth? Like our roots are the earth, our evolutionary path, something that where we found out that we are social beings, we're social species, humans. We depend on each other to succeed. We depend on each other. A collective effort produces an abundance. Is the creation story designed to get us back in touch with these ideas, or is it designed to be a wedge or a point of pivot so that we are unable to get back in touch with the true nature of how humans have been able to succeed against the adversities like famine, adversities like earthquake, death in the family, emotional adversity, death in the family, adversities like earthquake, hurricane, all these natural adversities that we have to face regardless of how our economic system is designed and set up. It's just an economic system. It's not the all fucking ruler. It's really not, man. It's just an economic system that can be changed. It can be altered by altering the the um, the motivation, altering the motive, and the priorities. Like the priorities right now are to consolidate as much wealth as possible within the shortest span of time. And what happens is the people who already have more wealth than they could ever spend collect even more on the labor and time and lives of people who live check to check, um, and it's inaccessible to us. And then it gets passed down generationally, and then a tiny percentage of the people get to access this consolidated wealth, and then pass it down another generation. Meanwhile, we're polluting the planet at a alarming rate. We're over sourcing the limited natural resources that we do have. Where there's if we weren't in competition with each other, and if we instead shared the information a little more openly, like public domain style education of what's the current and most efficient and sustainable way to do things, if we shared the knowledge and information, um, instead of being in competition with each other, and we excel and get a lot further in the study of this stuff. Also, if we didn't have to, if people didn't have to live in fear or worry about how and where and who and what, how their bills are going to get paid, how we're going to feed our children, imagine how much further, how much that energy could be used to further a cohesive society. I mean, seriously, uh, the United States, like it's been the same routine, man. It's been the same routine for millennia, where the wealthy get pay people with weapons to force people to work, and then and continue to pass down this unusable, unspendable amount of wealth. And like the precipice, the pinnacle of it is, we're past the pinnacle. It's starting to degrade more than it's starting to produce, efficiently and sustainable. It's starting to, by the nature of its own um, value system, capitalism is actually, it's obsolete, because the cost of continuing this path doesn't reward as much as it costs. So by the very nature of it, it's become obsolete. It's outlived its life. It's outlived its usefulness. The technology we have is as far as it's going to get right now. We could either shift this whole, have a paradigm shift, right? Shift the whole thought process, perspective, and mentality. Shift the motivation. Shift the I keep coming up to a blank right here. Priorities. Shift the priorities to where we develop something that's cohesive with the planet and what the planet has to provide, or we destroy the planet and colonize Mars. Like, what if we don't develop technology in time for us to colonize Mars before the planet becomes unlivable, or before we've degraded so much of the planet that we can't even make it to Mars? Imagine the fucking future. Like, there's a better way. There's a better way. There's a better way. You remove the profit motive. The profit motive basically means I deserve more than you. That's basically what the profit motive means. You remove the profit motive and put the interest, the common interest of people and essential needs, that becomes the priority. The common interest of people, the essential needs, and the amount of resources available. That becomes the priority, not profit. And with that shift, everything else falls into place. We start to realize, we start to see, when we're not blinded by this veil of the profit motive, while we're not, detoured by this crazy, vicious cycle. We start to realize what we have, how we can keep it, and how we can make the best of it. And it's just kind of like that, man. I get fucking a little bit excited about it, man. But shit, I'm passionate about it because I can see it. I've had an experience of being at the epicenter of one of the biggest bombs, one of the biggest weapons deployed on a country by its own government, which was the crack epidemic. It's one of the biggest weapons, aside from, the psychology behind creating consumerism. One of the biggest and most destructive weapons. It was definitely one of the biggest and first and hardest hitting of its time, since maybe heroin, but even heroin wasn't as drastic. Even heroin wasn't as drastic. And then having my experience, I have been able to see, where the ends will take us. Like, I've been able to see on the other side of where the ends can take us. And because I'm not like, I'm not like disillusioned. I'm not using the right word. I'm not indifferent. I'm not indifferent to the reality that we're seeing right in front of us. Like, it matters to me. Your kids matter to me. The future matters to me. And it's not like, it's not like I'm going to be able to spend money once I'm in the ground. You donate my physical matter back to the earth. And I'm 185 pounds of mostly water that I donate back to the earth. How much have I taken? How much is one person taken? See, we don't look at it that way. In general, it took me a grave sense of desperation that fueled the passion for me to seek a different way. I mean, grave sense of desperation to seek a new way of life, to seek a better way of life. But we don't have to. Like, we've already experienced Jim Crow here in the United States. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason anywhere else in the world should experience anything of the such. Like apartheid. South Africa has already overcome the apartheid regime. We've already learned the lesson. Like, why isn't the technology being used to teach the lessons? Why are we continuing the same cycle, vicious cycle of destruction and self-destruction? So that people that already have more money than they could ever use can consolidate even more unusable wealth and pass it down generations to people who won't ever be able to use it at the cost of humanity's longevity on this planet. In recovery, they talk about surrender, like you have to surrender in order to win. But they talk about you have to surrender in order to win. And you know who needs to surrender? The forces behind this self-destructive, the quote unquote powers that be is who needs to surrender. Because that's who's perpetuating, that's who's teaching and perpetuating this self-destruction. It's similar to, and you know, we in society pick it up. Maybe they're unaware of it. I feel like, and I believe, and I truly stand on and think, and I know there's a good percentage of people who think the same thing, that they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. Most, you know, that top elite 1%, or I won't even say elite, the ruling class percentage is, because they're not elite. Elite is children. Children are elite. The ruling class, they know what they're doing. They just don't give a shit about us. And what happens is, like, they're not in touch with the true nature of what humanity is. They have this vision that humanity is the strongest survive. But we've gotten past that point. We've gotten past the point of killing to survive. We have this global distribution system. We have agriculture. You know, the ability to farm and produce food abundantly, so abundantly that the government pays farmers not to produce food. Pays farmers to destroy their crops. That's how abundantly we are able to produce. But the problem is, we are producing for profit and not for the common interests of people. If we produce for the common interest of people, we would see, you know, what the books talk about here as a heaven on earth. Or something, you know, somewhat, you know, like closer to, or whatever. We wouldn't be killing and fighting each other, neighbor to neighbor and family member to family member, like shooting each other in the back verbally and emotionally. We wouldn't be doing it. We would be facing the adversities, the natural adversities that humanity has to face, which is things like how long our supplies are going to last, which is, you know, earthquake, weather, which is, you know, the degradation of infrastructure. That's what we need to be focusing on. Like, that's what we need to be focusing on. But our priorities there needs to be a paradigm shift in our priorities. I equate this whole system to, like, in society, to like growing up in a household, a child or whatever, growing up in a household where people are using substances, drugs and alcohol to cope. And then you just think it's just the way it is. You think it's just the way it is. Then you like take, you know, you take a pipe to school thinking, yeah, you know, it's at home. It's not a big deal. You got a weed pipe? Oh yeah, I got a weed pipe. You show your classmates and you show your teacher and don't realize that, you know what I mean? Because you think it's just the way it is. So that whole cycle is perpetuated. Now there's the parent is in trouble where, you know, we wouldn't be seeking to escape this reality if the priorities were balanced. If our priorities were balanced, we wouldn't be risking our lives to escape this sense of reality that we see, which is not even based on actual reality. It's based on an illusion that we're fed. We wouldn't be seeking to escape this illusion with substances. We might just be enjoying them every once in a while as needed. You know what I mean? It might just be kind of like that. Kind of like, take it or leave it. And then when someone does develop an addiction problem, you treat it. You deal with it as a community. You address them with love, with compassion, with empathy, because we know what drives addiction. It's a paradigm shift, man. It's a whole paradigm shift. Anyway, I'm about to make this video, about to make this whole post. It's 20 minutes. You don't have to listen to it if you don't want to, but I'm about to make this post. All power to the people. Peace and power to the people. And when the people have power, we will know peace. We'll know what peace on earth is. Like when we have the ability to access the resources that are available as needed. You know what I mean? We'll know a vastly more realistic sense of equality and peace. Yeah, you know, we'll have enough drama. We'll have enough drama without the fucking, you know what I mean? We'll have enough drama without the desperate to feed our kids and have to steal groceries. We'll have enough drama without that struggle. We will. There's going to be enough to keep us occupied without, communities warring over territories in urban societies, in modern societies. Like, why are we warring over territories within our own city? Do we exist within our own? Why are we warring over territories, period? That's what we learn. That's what we learn. That's what the government does. It's what countries have done. And it's based on an antiquated belief system. It's based on an antiquated system of beliefs based on non-existent virtues. We need, we need logical principles. We need rational principles. Scientific principles. Principles based in actual reality, not illusionary reality. It's possible. It's possible. You just gotta let go of the anchor, man. You cut the anchor. I know it's not really exactly a good description because you need the anchor when the boat's floating around. I'm just saying, let go of let go of the fucking guns. Let go of the profit motive. Let go of the self-destructive vicious cycle. Yeah, I'm about to post this. Hope it's not too long. Damn, I'm tired as fuck.